Tune into Nice Radio every Saturday at 7:30 a.m. for A View from the Outside, hosted by Brereton Horne. A View from the Outside takes a look at key issues affecting St. Vincent and the Grenadines and gives a global perspective on how these issues are viewed. Host Brereton Horne will examine a variety of topics to enlighten, stimulate debate, and explore solutions. Hear the facts, hear the real-life stories, hear A View from the Outside. Join Brereton Horne at 7:30 a.m. every Saturday on Nice Radio for A View from the Outside.
On A View from the Outside, this week being the 1st of December 2018. In fact, it is the first day in December, and so we know that the year is fast coming to an end. So on A View from the Outside this week being the 1st of December 2018, we look at Steadfast, 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 with the view being that Vincentians need to remain steadfast, despite the fact that all expectations in relation to the election petitions being heard from the 3rd of December 2018 to the 7th of December 2018, as originally ordered by the judge, have been dashed. The expectations have been dashed. The Oxford Dictionary defines steadfast as resolutely or dutifully firm and unwavering. And the Collins Dictionary says that if someone is steadfast in something that they are doing, they are convinced that what they're doing is right, and they refuse to change it or to give up. Embedded in those definitions is the quality of not giving up. In fact, the quality of refusing to give up, the quality of standing firm, the quality of not wavering, especially when you're convinced that what you're standing up for is right. No one is saying that it is easy to remain steadfast, and no one is saying that it is easy to exercise all of the embedded qualities that go with remaining steadfast. It is recognized that remaining steadfast will be doubly difficult in the face of disappointment after disappointment. However, if you are convinced that what you are standing firm for is right, then you will exercise a bit of resolve. Every bit of resolve that gives you the resolve not to waver and to remain steadfast. Everyone is perhaps aware by now that the news broke yesterday that after hearing the submissions from the lawyers in the case, the judge in the election petitions, Justice Esco Henry, ordered that the petitions will now not be heard on Monday, the 3rd of December 2018, to Friday, the 7th of December 2018. The dates which she previously set for the hearing. The new dates which Justice Henry ordered for the trial are now the 11th of February 2019 to the 1st of March 2019. The judge heard submissions that one of the lawyers in the case, Mr. Graham Bollers, the leading counsel for the respondents, Sir Louis Straker, for the Central Leeward constituency, and Mr. Montgomery Daniel for the North Windward constituency. The judge heard submissions that Mr. Bollers is too sick to conduct the trial on their behalf. It is also said that it was presented to the judge that the junior counsel to Mr. Bollers, Mr. Carlos James, a senator in the ULP government who has been involved with the case from the early days, is not sufficiently experienced to conduct the case either. in view of the prognosis pertaining to the illness of Mr. Bollers, which the judge said indicate that he will have to cease work soon, the judge ordered that Sir Louis Straker and Mr. Montgomery Daniel get new counsel to conduct their respective cases. The case is next in court on the 24th of January for what is called a status hearing. That is, a hearing for the court to get an update of where things are. It must be noted that the lawyers who represented the applicants, Benjamin Exeter and Lauren Batiste, who contested the elections on behalf of the NDP in the Central Leeward and North Windward constituencies respectively, their lawyers vigorously opposed the application to adjourn the trial. It must also be noted that whilst doing so, it is reported that they empathize deeply with Mr. Bollers. We, on a view from the outside, also wish Mr. Bollers well as he battles with his medical condition. There is no doubt that many are disappointed and that there's another delay in these election petitions in the courts in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And it is with that in mind that we, on a view from the outside, have encouraged everyone, and we continue to encourage everyone, to remain steadfast. That said, however, it cannot be forgotten that those petitions started following the general elections of the 9th of December 2015 in the face of allegations of voter fraud and election rigging. It cannot be forgotten that you, the people, took to the streets in protest on the 10th of December 2015. And it must be remembered that some of you remain on the streets in the form of the front line up to today, protesting those results. That is being steadfast. It cannot be forgotten that despite your protest and your efforts to prevent the Prime Minister being sworn in, he did so at nightfall. It cannot be forgotten either that there have been many delays since the election petitions have been lodged, some of which many believe have been deliberate in order to prevent the petitions being heard and to prevent the evidence from being revealed. It cannot be forgotten that matters pertaining to the election petitions ended up in the Eastern Caribbean Court of Appeal in St. Lucia because the High Court judge in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Justice Brian Cottle, ruled against the New Democratic Party and struck out their petitions. It must be remembered that when the judges in the Eastern Caribbean Court of Appeal in St. Lucia handed down their ruling on the 7th of March 2017, they overturned the ruling of Justice Cottle and ruled that he acted with apparent bias. It must be remembered also that as part of their ruling, the judges in the Eastern Caribbean Court of Appeal remitted the petitions back to the High Court in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and ruled that the petitions are to be heard by a different judge expeditiously. It was then that Justice Esco Henry became involved in the petitions. And since then, everyone knows that there have been several delays also. Well, the judges in the Eastern Caribbean Court of Appeal ruled on the 7th of March 2017 that the petitions were to be heard expeditiously. Those of you who follow this program, if you're from the outside, may remember that on the 2nd of September 2017, we covered the topic expeditiously, and we highlighted the fact that it was clear that expeditiously appears not to be given the ordinary dictionary meaning in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Well, it is more than a year now since that program, and more than a year and a half since the ruling of the Eastern Caribbean Court of Appeal judges, and the petitions are still yet to be heard. Surely it must be frustrating to witness the failure of the organs of the state, including the courts, to act expeditiously. It must be frustrating to see that they have neither acted with speed and efficiency, nor have they been quick and efficient. All these are factors which demonstrate expeditiously, and they demonstrate what expeditiously really and truly means. But our system in St. Vincent and the Grenadines have not acted expeditiously. It is in view of that frustration, or potential frustration, that we, on A View from the Outside, urge you to remain steadfast, despite all of the delays with respect to the election petitions. We urge you to bear in mind that to be steadfast does not mean to remain silent on the petition matters or on any other issue affecting the country. We urge you not to remain silent in the face of injustice. In fact, we urge you to be steadfast and stand up and speak out against injustice, and to make every attempt to root out injustice at its very core. Do not tolerate practices in your country, our country, where it is clearly visible that justice has two faces. We encourage you to look at examples around the region and around the world to see what people do when they remain steadfast. Just recently, in Grenada, the teachers took protest action pertaining to their pensions, in which they feel their government did not deal them a fair hand. Bear in mind that it was only on the 13th of March this year, 2018, following their general elections, that the government of Grenada was returned with all 15 seats. And yet, the people of Grenada have shown that they are not afraid to hit the streets in protest of what they say is an injustice to them. We urge you to bear in mind that to remain steadfast is to ensure that school buildings are adequately maintained so that your children, the children of the nation, the future of the nation, are schooled in a healthy, safe, and secure environment. Speak up and speak out when toilets for the schools, for the use of the children, are in total neglect, dilapidation, and complete disrepair. Remain steadfast and speak out at the first sign of problem. We urge you to be steadfast and speak out against the murder rate in the country. Speak out about crime in general, which appears to be out of control. We urge you to remain steadfast and continue to demand accountability from a government which makes every excuse in the book not to provide accountability to you, the people to whom they must be accountable. We urge you to remain steadfast and continue to provide support for Yogi Farrell, especially bearing in mind that her matter is next in court on the 17th of December 2018. That is in less than 3 weeks' time. Know that the world is watching and waiting and remaining steadfast with you. We urge you to shelve the frustration and be steadfast and highlight and speak out about all of the things which affect you and your family, your neighbor, and the entire country. In being steadfast, let us hope that when the election petition matters return to court on the 24th of January 2019 for the status hearing, that is the hearing for the court to get an update of where things are, that there will be no further delay and that everything will be in order for the actual trial to take place on the 11th of February 2019 to the 1st of March 2019. As we remain steadfast, let us all bear in mind the cautionary words of Martin Luther King Jr. He said, and I quote, "He who passively accepts evil is as much involved in it as he who helps to perpetuate it. He who accepts evil without protesting against it is really cooperating with it," unquote. Vincentians, we on A View from the Outside urge you to remain steadfast and do not accept evil, whether passively or otherwise. Until next week, Justin and all of the listeners, this is Brereton Horne with A View from the Outside, with a reminder to send feedback as usual to aviewfromtheoutside@hotmail.com. That's aviewfromtheoutside@hotmail.com. Have a pleasant Saturday, have a wonderful Sunday, and have a productive week ahead when all remain steadfast.